It's been quite a while since I did one of my classic Maximum Venom episodes, where I tell a story and draw some designs of what would happen if Venom symbiotes invaded any pop culture universe out there. So we're back into that today, and as voted on by my subscribers, we're going with Venom symbiotes invading the Star Wars universe. Think this is gonna be a fun one, so let's go. Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show. During the Clone Wars, many experiments had been done on the dark side to try and enhance the droids, soldiers, and Sith in an attempt to make their forces more formidable. At one point, General Grievous had sent a scout ship to the far reaches of the galaxy to investigate a rumor of a planet of amorphous beings who could bond with other biological beings to enhance their strength and speed and possibly even force powers. After months of searching, the scouts finally returned, having captured a few of the slimy, morphing creatures of the planet Clintar. Grievous arrogantly attempted bonding with one of these creatures himself first. Right away, he realized just how much of an asset these creatures could be. His mechanical body was altered to become more biological, and the alien coating protected him from blaster fire. Along with that, he was indeed far faster and stronger. And larger. There was one significant flaw with these creatures though. They were weak to lightsabers. Grievous first noticed this when he'd been out in the field and he'd held one of his own lightsabers too close to his body. The symbiote had started to retract from the blade in that area, leaving Grievous open to attacks. He'd avoided encounters with the Jedi to that point, since getting his new helper, but he worried that the symbiote may flee his body if he were to be struck by a lightsaber. But this didn't ruin Grievous's plans for the Clintar. In fact, along with using them as a weapon, he had another idea in mind for them. See, the creatures had also further fueled Grievous's rage and made him far more violent in the field. This itself spawned an idea in the General. Not only could these creatures help himself and his own soldiers, but they could potentially help turn Jedi foes to the dark side. For the next battle, in which Grievous was certain at least one Jedi would show up, he made sure to carry with him in a case one of the Clintar that they'd captured. While he'd hoped to have a run-in with Kenobi, he was at least pleased to see that Anakin and Ahsoka Tano had come for the fight. Grievous entered the field, and the Jedi and his Padawan came for him. It was quickly clear to them that he, in his new mutated state, was far too powerful for the two of them to take on alone, and they began to retreat. But as they did, Grievous opened the container holding the second Clintar and tossed it straight at Anakin's back. Ahsoka leapt in the way to protect Anakin. She tried to use the Force to hold the creature in midair, but for some reason it didn't stop. The symbiote sprung from its cage and latched onto her. Grievous fled as the creature overtook the young Padawan. At first, when Ahsoka bonded with her Clintar, everything seemed more than fine. In fact, after a quick panic, with droids descending on her and Anakin, she leapt back into the fight, despite the creature attached to her body. Instantly, she noticed her skills as a Jedi had been vastly improved. She swept through 50 droids in under a minute and could have easily continued on. But the droids had started to retreat, and Anakin wanted to get Ahsoka looked at. The first few people asked had no idea what the thing on Ahsoka was, so she was brought before the Jedi Council so they could decide what to do. Despite the circumstances under which she'd gotten the creature, the Council was divided. They could sense nothing from the symbiote, which itself was puzzling. Some had a vague idea of what the creature could be, having heard similar tales to those that had spawned the search for the Clintars by the Separatists. Some had heard that they were creatures who improved your powers while driving you mad, and others had heard that they were simply creatures that enhanced all that you already were. If you were angry, they'd make you more so, but if you were good and honorable, they'd make you even better. Anakin stepped in, surprisingly to say that he believed she should be allowed to keep using the symbiote. He didn't love the idea of his Padawan being a guinea pig, but after seeing how powerful it had made her, it could be a significant asset in the war, and they needed every advantage they could get. He also didn't share this part with them, but a small part of him envied Ahsoka. He craved the power of the symbiote for himself, but he knew this was a selfish thought and he tried to bury it. The Council deemed Ahsoka could continue using the creature under the watch of Master Yoda. He'd accompany Anakin and Ahsoka on their next missions to keep an eye on the creature and its effects on her, and a new mission came quickly. An outpost was under siege by a squadron of droids led by the symbiote-enhanced Grievous. With his new power, he made quick work of the clone troopers standing by, and the Jedi needed to step in. They brought backup, and Yoda, Anakin, and the enhanced Ahsoka stepped in to face off against Grievous. He'd had much more time with his symbiote and was working brilliantly in tandem with it. For some reason, their force powers didn't work on Grievous in this new enhanced state, and with his speed and power, Yoda and Anakin were no match. But Ahsoka was holding her own. She fought long and hard, forcing him out of the outpost, but the longer she fought, the more tired she got. Determination turned into anger, and that fueled the symbiote infecting her. Tendrils and spikes started springing from her body, her mouth grew into a savage grin, and jagged teeth sprung from her maw. She finally managed to slice off one of his arms. As soon as she did, the symbiote leapt from his body to the ground near him. Grievous fell to his knees, and the fight could have been over there and then, but Ahsoka didn't stop. With a merciless slice, she struck Grievous's head clean from his body. We briefly interrupt this program to say that I've finally made another bundle of inks that people can download and color. And the reason I bring it up in this episode is because it's a bundle of inks of all my Venomized characters, excluding characters I drew for community redraw episodes. So you've got inks from the Venomized My Hero Academia episodes, from the Godzilla Venomized episode, Dragons Venomized, Justice League Venomized, Ben 10 Venomized. I can't think of them all off the top of my head, but all my Venomized stuff is in that ink bundle. I'll link it in the description, but it should also be in the little bar underneath this video by the time you're watching this. They're all super high-res TIFF files that you should be able to bring into any software in color or print off and color on paper. And I've got a bunch of other ink bundles that I'll also put in the bar under this video. Anyway, sorry for the interruption, back into the story. Yoda and Anakin were both horrified by Ahsoka's ruthless act and stepped in to get the symbiote off her. Once more, they tried to use the Force on it, but now it seemed clear, for whatever reason, these symbiotes were immune to the Force. But they'd seen what had happened when a lightsaber had struck Grievous. Yoda and Anakin just needed to manage one cut against Ahsoka to remove the creature. But that was easier said than done. They attacked, both trying to not go for a kill shot, while also having to protect themselves from a vicious foe. The battle went on, and it was clear they weren't going to get the hit in that they needed. Ahsoka even managed to slice Yoda's lightsaber in half, leaving Anakin as her only opponent. So Anakin made a Hail Mary play. He dropped his lightsaber and stood still. "I know you're still in there, Ahsoka, and I know you won't kill me." She swung a lightsaber straight at his head, but stopped an inch from his neck. He'd called it right. Ahsoka had just enough control to stop herself. But others in her position wouldn't have. See, the symbiote, now very close to Anakin, sensed the darkness in him. It was like having the scent of a delicious meal beneath your nose. The creature sprung from Ahsoka's body onto Anakin and began taking him over instead. Ahsoka raised her blades to slice the creature, but was struck from behind. Something had landed on her head and she couldn't get it off with the Force. It knocked her lightsabers from her hands and was clawing at her head. Finally, she managed to grab the thing and hurl it off her, horrified to see that it was Master Yoda. The other symbiote had crawled its way onto him and taken him over after he lost his saber. Ahsoka needed help. She looked to Anakin, but the other symbiote had taken over his whole body, and he was looking down at his own altered form. She ran over and put both hands on his shoulders and told him to fight it, to fight the darkness the symbiote would bring him. But he'd already had his own fair share of darkness without it. Now, it was just that much more present. He swung his saber and sliced one of Ahsoka's hands clean off. She cried in pain as Yoda leapt towards her from behind. She ducked out of the way and realized she was well outmatched. She jumped off a cliff ledge and fled from the battle. The next few months would see to the end of the Clone Wars, but not in a way anyone would have expected. See, these two symbiotes now had a taste for the power they could wield by overtaking the bodies of Jedi and Sith, and they wanted more of their species to feel this strength. So Anakin and Yoda would travel back to planet Clintar and gather an army of symbiotes. Yoda took some to infect the Jedi Council, and Anakin took the rest to invade enemy strongholds, but was surprised that when he found Count Dooku, the Sith Lord already had a symbiote of his own. It had been given to him by his master. As both sides of the war were crumbling, Lord Sidious finally revealed himself to the tirading Anakin, not only admitting to being Senator Palpatine, but also revealing that he too, all this time, had had a symbiote of his own. He'd concocted this whole plan for Anakin to receive a symbiote and unlock his true dark potential, then help him spread the other symbiotes across the galaxy. And while Ahsoka stepping in to get the symbiote first had been a slight hiccup, now there was nothing stopping them from taking over. Anakin's loved ones would eventually find and try to stop him. Padme would tell him she was with child, and Obi-Wan would try to appeal to the good in him, as Ahsoka had, but neither ploy would work. Anakin abandoned Padme and would nearly kill Obi-Wan in a duel when he too tried to remove the symbiote from Anakin. Sidious would then train Anakin in all the ways of symbiote warfare, showing him how best to work with his new aid, even teaching him how to stop his symbiote from being damaged by lightsaber attacks. He would be made Sidious's right hand, and then he'd train all the once Jedi Knights, now overtaken by symbiotes. And quickly, the symbiotes would multiply, continuing their spread until they were a large enough force to start giving citizens of the galaxy a dark choice. Planet by planet they'd go, bringing symbiote spawns, telling people they could either embrace their new symbiote partners or die. And well, there were some that would be willing and able to fight back, such as Ahsoka and Obi-Wan, and the few Jedi who'd held strong against the symbiote infection. It would be a very long time until anyone would put a dent in the ranks of the legion that was the Symbiote Empire. When I set out to do this episode originally, I definitely didn't intend for it to have such a dark ending. But, I guess Revenge of the Sith has a pretty dark ending, so for the time period I picked, it kinda fits. Anyway, I'm super curious to see how this video does. It really has been a while since I did a full Maximum Venom episode. I guess the last one I didn't call Maximum Venom. I did the classic horror movie Monsters Venomized. I really liked that one. I mean, I guess I more recently did War Greymon Venomized, but that wasn't a Venom-specific episode. Definitely down to jump back into some of these. Heck, I might even jump back into the Star Wars universe with more Venomized stuff. I definitely left it open-ended enough that I could tell another story here. Let me know if you got any good ideas for that in the comments. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, as I said, I've got lots of different Venomized episodes. I'll put a playlist of them at the end of this video. And I got a bunch of other Star Wars videos. Some of my best ones are probably the turning superheroes into Mandalorians episodes. But anyway, everybody, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the Nerdy Start videos on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video on Friday. Goodbye.